The first thing a lot of people would know or knew us from previous worlds was that business as we knew it in the consulting game, business consulting game, sales training game, we were, you and I, fine. Like our businesses were fine. There was no major challenge we actually had to solve as far as our own businesses running them. You know, like I was making enough money, you were making plenty of money. So life was good, life was fine. Like it didn't really require anything different. But down the bottom of my guts, I always knew, nah, there's a deeper game to be played here. When it comes to learning, when it comes to education, there was always like, this content stuff is only just scratching the surface. This is just giving people the taste test of what they actually need to go on, the journey they really need to go on to actually learn.
Do you remember the call? You had a different tone in your voice. Do you remember what you said to me?
Yeah, I think I said something like, dude, I reckon that people actually aren't getting as much out of this as number one, they think they are, and number two, we hope they are. Because this was the problem, man. Like people would tell, you couldn't tell the difference. It was all smoke and mirrors from the people that we would train as well, because they thought they were getting a lot out of it. They thought, they were like, yeah, no, this was great. This training was awesome. This gave me exactly what I need. But it's not until you actually just pull back. I'm talking just one layer of the onion, man. And you very quickly find that sales numbers, the true results that actually mattered, weren't receiving the upspike that their emotions were. So that phone call was, dude, I reckon we've got to be honest with ourselves and honest with the market here and go, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Look at your shirt, Matt. Look at your shirt. Through Bravo, Darcy and mine's company, we've created a brand new event. We've found a way to actually train salespeople in a completely revolutionary way using game theory.
Remember the first thing I brought up with you was a previous training that I had attended some 3 years earlier. And after attending it, my own personal sales numbers in business doubled within a week after attending through the concepts that I learned at this particular event. And so I said to you but the cool thing about it, Steve, was that every part of it was delivered through the use of games. And with the concept or the idea behind the way we play games is the way we play life.
Yeah.
And so if we can, and we just sort of threw it out. Remember, we were just like, well, let's just give this games thing a go. Let's explore that.
It resonated with me for one particular reason, like, you know, dad, 2 young girls, Alyssa's 7, Nora's 5. And just seeing them go to school in a play-based learning environment, I was like, man, they are not only consuming so much information, but they are getting to put it to work. They're getting to explore.
Rapidly learning.
Yeah, and like you go away for a week and you're like, whoa, where'd Nora come from? Like the amount of learning that can happen in such a short amount of time.
Yes.
I was like, okay, maybe there's something.
All through getting their hands dirty, all through playing, all through actually involving themselves in like simulated learning environments. That's what kindergarten is. That's what the
moving blocks, actually getting amongst it.
Absolutely, right?
We just picked a date, hey. We just
picked a date.
2-day event.
Yeah.
2-day event, Melbourne. It's called the Consultative Sales Game.
Yeah. We're going to teach you all through the use of games. And the people that came were high quality people. Some people even watching this right now will remember they were in that first ever consultative sales game room. And it was a high quality event for 2 days. These people played games that they had no idea how it was going to end.
We had never tested before.
They had no idea what the learning was they were going to get out of it. We didn't necessarily know that the learning that they were going to get out of it was what they were going to get. But we just knew in our heart of hearts that if we put people in simulated learning environments, they'll learn 10, 20 times more.
More than we can ever tell them.
Than we could ever give them through content.
I've never smiled so much in my life. This is the coolest game ever.
The biggest thing I reckon that was a game changer when we're going through all the different games. We're trying to work out the rules, we're trying to work out what does the game look like, is there an umpire, all this sort of stuff. Was when we landed on the 4 principles.
Yes.
I think that completely changed the way that we thought about games.
Well, essentially, we swapped out what is a game or a good match made out of, i.e. the umpires, the two teams, white lines, or we swapped out all that concept for how do you play a good game? Because if you know how you play a good game in life and how you play a good game in business, if we can like nail that down to what we did, 4 principles, and give that to people.
It's been a massive glue for us.
Totally, and that's ultimately the concept or the context through which all of their growth has happened, is these 4 principles.
Okay, so if you've understood yourself, you've backed yourself, you've understood others, and then what do you think 4 is? Once you understand others, then you know how to back them. But it's totally normal to get stuck at 1, 2, 3, or even get stuck at 4. What if you spend all your time backing others and you forget to back yourself, right? All of these, you're going to be looking at these going, I do that one really well, and that number 3 or 4 I am shit at, right? It's just not my strength, which again, it's all good. All we're here to achieve is the self-awareness of what needs to shift, okay? Because upon having self-awareness around what needs to shift, what do you think will start to happen? You've got no choice but to change.
So nailing it down to those 4 principles was really ultimately where the sales game started to take shape, because we realized out of all the games that we played, there was one particular game that
The mighty
the chips game, the chips game, which is now what has become the sales game, was this one game that we played
For an hour.
For an hour. It went for 1 hour. And essentially all we did was,
All right, so you might notice you've got some
Go for it.
chips on your table. Has everyone got a stack
Has
of
everyone
chips?
got their own stack of chips?
and we said, here's 20 chips. You've got, actually we didn't tell them how long there was going to be played. You've got a certain amount of time.
That you'll never know about.
That's it.
The winner is going to be the one with the most chips at the end of this predetermined time. The loser will be the person with the least amount of chips.
The winner at the end of this game will be the one with the most chips, and they'll receive like a book or something like that. The loser will be the one with the least. How you go about that is completely up to you.
No rules.
Go ahead, start.
Go.
I remember that mate, go. And then the room just kind of looked around like, what do we do
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
But then for the next 60 minutes, unbelievable insights and awareness. And when you're talking about those 4 principles of awareness of self, awareness of others, backing of self, backing of others,
Yeah.
it was amazing. It just
Yeah.
blew up.
It did. The first thing to take note of, the thing that was most entertaining to watch, and probably for the players, the most entertaining to experience for themselves, was what their first move was going to be. People like had these chips, similar to how some people just like have this money in life, and they're like, what do I
with it?
actually do with this? How do I use this? Number 1, to generate more, but number 2, to generate value for others. Like, what do I do with this? And that's a question that until some people are put in that position to realize for themselves, a lot of people don't necessarily know what to do or how to be strategic with the chips they've got in their hand, i.e. the money they've got, i.e. the network they have, i.e. the education that they have,
Influence,
the
yeah.
influence that they have. What do I do with this? How do I best use this? And the chips game brought all of that to the surface within 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating to watch. Fascinating to watch. What was your favorite part about that chips game? What did you enjoy taking away from it as an observer?
For me, it was the observation of the players getting light bulbs.
Yeah.
Where they were like, oh my goodness, now I understand that when I have a big pile of chips, i.e. sales are good,
Yeah.
I get uncomfortable about that, and now I just want to get rid of them. It's almost like the light bulb after light bulb after light bulb of people realizing like, I've been doing this for years, like
Yeah.
sometimes decades, and I had no awareness that that was the trigger for me or that was linked.
Yep.
Just seeing that drop for people, I was
Yes.
like, this thing is powerful, man.
So to be able to sit back and watch that was,
Particularly from a psychological
oh
point of view.
man, if I may be selfish about it for a second, I was in heaven just watching this. I was just like, this is psychology 101 unfolding before our eyes
In real time.
in a 10-year span, being zeroed back down to a 60-minute,
6 years of life in 60
example.
minutes. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was exactly it. So man, after that,
We knew we had something.
we knew we had something.